There's no doubt this guy can work a room, but the big question is, can he work your living room?
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Yeah, happy April Fools. I mean, for some reason, Lexi Chris, my esteemed producer, thinks that, hey, it's April Fools, we've got to do some comedy. I guess they're connected, but when I heard that Aceto is being inducted into the Comedy Hall of Fame, I said, you want to bring him on? Of course I want to bring him on. Let's bring him on, because he's one of those guys that's really funny, but actually an easy guy to talk with. Some comedians are like dysfunctional. They cannot put two thoughts together unless they're in a yuck or behind a microphone or on a stage. Now I've set the bar kind of high for this new inductee into Rhode Island's Comedy Hall of Fame. Welcome into my state of mind. As you know, on Fridays we kind of kick back, we eliminate the rundown, even though all heck might be breaking loose. And we've left the stage, meaning the show, for Ace and me to kind of talk about what comedy is, what it does, his career, and he might give us something. If we don't laugh by the end of the show, he's fired. Here's the latest, the Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame and the latest inductee, and that's cool stuff. Man, that's a good picture.
Thanks.
You look younger in that pic.
I was. It was a couple of years ago. Thanks.
You should see the one
Thanks
I
for
have.
pointing out I need a new headshot.
On the radio website, I mean, I think my picture is at least 10 years old. People look at me and they go, oh.
What happened?
That's not. That's really disappointing. Welcome in. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's great to have you. You and I don't know each other very well. We've met once at the Matt Allen roast for WPRO, and I watched you work, and I have a profound respect for people who are in the comedy world, because it is a high wire, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah. It's risky. You never know. You know, in order to be funny, you have to take risks, and you have to say whatever is on your mind. I do a joke about not having a filter. Comics don't have the filter that most professional people have. You have to be able to do that, and you know, 3 things might work out of every 10, and 6 might get you thrown off a stage, and 1 might get you arrested.
Well, I bet. I want to talk about you know, what it's like to work in comedy. But you are, how do I define you? You're a new inductee. By the way, Jess, can we put up I guess this started in 2012?
Yeah.
Was Charlie Hall the first inductee?
Yep.
I don't know why, he's not very funny. Tom Cotter and Frank O'Donnell, Doreen Collins, who's an absolute nut.
Yeah.
And Ace Aceto.
Doreen brings that whole thing about, you know, comics not being able to put 2 things together, because Doreen is all over the place all the time. You can't hold a conversation with her for very long.
She's
all over the place.
She's a little spastic.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't be too insulted if she heard that, would she?
No, not at all.
No.
No, she'd actually probably like that.
In fact, she'll probably now be banging on the door saying, let me come in.
Let me back
yeah.
in.
And by the way, you know, it dawns on me, how long have I known Charlie? We got to get Charlie on the show. I'll bet, you know, as soon as he sees this, he'll be here Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, knocking on the door.
How come Ace was on and not me? I should have been on first.
Exactly. Excited to join these folks?
I am really excited. Yeah, it's an honor. I mean, it was started like you said, it was started in 2012 by Rockin' Joe Hebert, another local comic, who really just wanted to bring attention to the fact that we're funny in Rhode Island. We have funny stuff going on. We have funny people going on, and he wanted to recognize people who kind of not just came from Rhode Island and did comedy, but people who kind of put Rhode Island on the map. We're not embarrassed about Rhode Island, though we probably should be most times, but we're not embarrassed to say we're from Rhode Island. If I work in Boston, there are Rhode Island comics that'll work in Boston and say that they're a Boston comic. I say I'm from Rhode Island. I'm proud about Rhode Island.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would
I don't want to
do
name
that?
names, don't ask.
They do that because?
You know, there's the whole Boston Providence.
This is the JV, that's the varsity.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's funny. I have friends
really
who are in
not the
bands.
case.
It really isn't. I mean, I tell people, I said, listen, I lived outside of Boston a few years. If I wanted to go to dinner in Boston, living in Wakefield, 12 miles out, it could take me an hour just to get to the restaurant. I could go to just as nice a restaurant in Providence, live 12 miles out, and get there in 12 minutes.
Right.
It's not
well,
a
maybe
JV
you
thing.
should be working for economic development, because they've had a tough week, by the way.
They
Have you noticed?
yeah.
Cooler and warmer? What do you think of that?
I just look at Facebook. I mean, it's all over Facebook. They're parodying it. It's been parodied millions of times in the past 4 days.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. You're not a full-time comedian.
No, I hold a professional day job during the day. I work in medical sales for GlaxoSmithKline.
So where is that thing between working for a living and doing comedy for a living? Do you aspire to do it full-time, or do you have it in a place right now?
I mean, I aspired to do it full-time 27 years ago when I first walked on the Periwinkle stage at the arcade, and was almost there. I think around 1995, 96, I had gotten some attention from some producers and movie companies and things like that. Disney Touchstone Pictures and Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, and I was going to make the move to New York, because you don't get famous out of Rhode Island. You don't get famous out of Boston. You're going to be in New York or LA. And so I was going to move, and but I went to Catholic school, and the problem with Catholic school is they make you follow the rules, and they make you afraid to take risks. Everything is black or white. There's no gray area. So I wanted to have a professional day job in New York. I didn't want to just live in the trunk of my car during the day and then do comedy at night. And when I went and tried to interview for jobs, for full-time day jobs in medical sales, I interviewed, they didn't have anything down there. And I got a call from a guy, and he said, "Hey, you interested in working for us? We're outside of Boston." I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "How far outside of Boston?" He said, "Well, I cover from Framingham to the New York border." I said, "Great." He offers me the job. I said, "Framingham? No. Worcester? No. Springfield? No. You're going to cover Pittsfield, Massachusetts."
Congratulations.
And so I had to abandon the moving to New York and getting famous. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I get to make people laugh. I get to do the same job that guys I started with, like Dane Cook and Bill Burr, and I get to do the same job. I just don't make as much money as them, But it's still fun.
Yeah, when you talk about Dane Cook et al., these folks who I'm sure you've rubbed shoulders with, there's a fine line, almost an invisible line, between those who, quote, make it and those who do not. I'm not suggesting you're not making it.
Yeah, no.
Do you think about that stuff?
Sometimes you do, but after a while you start to realize it definitely takes talent to do what they're doing. You can't be talentless and make it big. But there's a whole pool of people that are just as talented that didn't make it.
And why?
For whatever reason.
Why?
For me, it was I met someone and started a family, and so my priorities shifted.
Right.
For other people, it could be something else. I mean, there's some really funny people, not all throughout New England. Very, very funny comics. You go and see a professional comedy show at one of the local clubs, or even throughout New England, you're going to see a comic who's just as professional, just playing to a smaller audience.
Yeah. Well, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
In any performance field, it seems to me, and obviously I'm in a performance field, it's a different flavor, but it's a performance field nonetheless. There's an early surge to chase a brass ring, right? But then real life gets in the way, and you have to find a place of comfort. But I wholeheartedly subscribe to your thought process, which is that media has so much talent that is not nationally and worldwide known.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is look at the platforms of national and worldwide flavor to see that, and to say, wow, there's a guy I can go see at the Comedy Connection that splits my ribs. This guy I paid $80 to go see, and I don't know about that.
That sometimes happens too. And I remember I opened up one time for Brett Butler, national comedian. She had her own show, Grace Under Fire. And I remember coming off stage, and I had been doing comedy maybe 12, 13 years at the time. It took me 12 or 13 years to do that really solid 30 minutes up front. She had already had her own HBO special, was on her second hour of material while trying to write for a TV show. So it wasn't her best material. And people would come up to me and go, "Oh, you were funnier." And I'm like, it took me 13 years to get that stuff. She's probably been working on this stuff for 6 months. You never know where someone's at.
Yeah. Well, how do you put this work together? I'm always fascinated how singers and songwriters do that kind of thing. How do you write a comedy show? We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Performance from our new Hall of Famer in Rhode Island on the comedy scene is this Saturday at 9 o'clock. It's a free special event at the Newport Grand Event Center. How's that place looking these days?
The event center is beautiful. It's a little, it has a little bit of a personality disorder because I think they're trying to bring in the old high-rise, so there's like, a mural of wheat fields, and then there's these street lamps that look like they're from New Orleans, and then beautiful stage and lighting and sound. It's a little.
They're in transition.
Crazy. They are.
They're trying to go to Tiverton.
They're trying,
with this whole thing.
But I have to say, I have to be very thankful to them because they took a shot on this concept show that I came up with about 3 years ago.
What is the concept?
So the concept, I started seeing shows, people putting together shows, concepts. And with my stage name being Ace, I thought of like a card deck of royal flush where I have a joker, a jack, a queen, a king, and I'm the ace. And so it's a 5-comic show, professional show. The queen, king, and myself are all headliners. The jack is someone who's like a new and up-and-coming comic. And then the joker is a really solid host, someone who can really hold it down.
I got to tell you something. Maybe it's the end of the week. Maybe it's that I'm brain dead. But, I didn't even think that Ace wasn't. It's Richard.
Yes, that's my real name. Thanks for outing me all throughout Rhode Island now.
Do you go by Richard? Do you go by Rick, Dick? How do you go?
I go by Rich when I'm off stage. But it's funny because people who've only known me through comedy look at me and go, your real name is Charlie, Paul. Your real name is Richard?
Right.
But people who know me from my day job say, really? Your nickname is Ace? You're not
so
funny during the day. I'm like, well, I'm walking into doctor's offices and urgent care centers.
Right.
I'm not supposed to be funny during the day.
Right. How do you write your comedy? You write your comedy?
I do. But because I don't do it full time, because I have this full-time job, I am the type that something funny comes to me. Nowadays, you put it in your notes in your phone.
I do that too. You can tell a story about
your
me,
memos, and then I just go back and I listen. And when I do get time to write something, I go back and I listen to these ideas that struck me as funny. And sometimes it might take 6 months before I get to it. And I listen to it again and I go, what the hell was I thinking that night? Because usually I think of it on the way back from a show or on the way to a show or
So
just
what
random.
you do, and the only reason I said I did that too, Ace has seen my one recent stand-up.
Yes.
Which tell everybody how bad that was.
It was so funny because I came in and I'm
This is the
nervous.
Matt Allen roast.
It was the first time I was going to be a roast master general. I wanted to take it serious. I spent weeks before writing things, taking everyone's name, taking everyone that was going to be on the dais, writing jokes, listening to your show. I mean, I listen to your show anyway, but I was really listening so I could make jokes about some of the things that you had said leading up to the roast. And I see you in the corner like this. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do. And you're writing on your phone. But you came up and blew the room away with just stuff that you wrote on your phone.
Well, you know what? I think, and there's no way that I would ever even suggest that I could compete on your level with comedy, but one of the things that I'm a last-minute thinker, ask my producers. We're like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm a last-minute thinker. On the radio, I'm a last-minute thinker. It's not that I don't prepare, it's that everything just crystallizes for me. Maybe it's because I used to procrastinate in college and high school and studies, right? So last-minute thinking for me is the rush of really getting to where I want to be. But this isn't about me, it's about you. But one of the things I think is fascinating on that particular night, I was thankful that I was last or one of the last in line, so I could listen to what was going on and react. And I think listening is a skill, obviously, in the broadcast business and doing a talk show and that kind of thing. But it's got to be an incredible asset. If you're a good listener, you can turn that into comedy, correct?
Yeah. I mean, my degree is in psychology, so it's all about listening and responding and observing everything around you. I'm ultra observant. I'm always looking at my surroundings because that's where sometimes something funny comes out. Sometimes you write something on stage, and it doesn't happen that often, but I did a show a couple of weeks ago, and some guy, because it's the political season, yelled out, Trump, and I just said, How do you think, what's going to happen if he becomes president? How's he going to pick his cabinet? Was he going to have a special edition of Celebrity Apprentice? And who's going to be his press secretary? Is Gary Busey. So I started just riffing and going off on Trump, and then doing a Gary Busey impression. And
well, when you write, do you find that do you have an average guess as to how much what you thought you were going to say you actually said? In other words, if you've got a 30-minute stand-up and you've got 30 minutes worth of material and you more or less have practiced it, you've timed it out, do you come away going, wow, that was weird, I didn't get to it all, I was short, I had to ad-lib?
Yeah.
Is it fluid, or you're pretty much predictable about where you're
never know,
be?
and I am not the type that practices. Because I've been doing it for so long, I've done a lot of the same material for a long time, because every audience is different. You can get away with doing. I've been making fun of Mike Sheridan, the traffic reporter, for 27 years. He's on the dais. He finally gets to get back at me next week.
Really? Why? What do you say about him?
Well, I talk about how growing up and going to Catholic school, we used to have to wait for the school cancellations. And you're laying in bed, you're waiting for them. But just to drag the show out a little bit longer, they throw in Mike Sheridan and Bud Taves for the morning news and traffic, just to make me lay there even more miserable, knowing the inevitable that they were never going to cancel Catholic school. So I do an impression of them, or I'd be like, this is Mike Sheridan from top of the Biltmore Hotel. Traffic is heavy on the Third Avenue curve down Wells Avenue. Should get through a few changes late for traffic from top of the Biltmore. There's Mike Sheridan. And I'm laying there going, Mike, take a breath, And it's funny because about, 10 years ago, I'm done with the show, and I see this guy. I'm talking to a group of people, and I see this little guy off to the side, and he's in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, this guy's freaking me out a little bit. And I said, hey, how you doing? He said, Ace, I just wanted to introduce myself. I've seen you a few times, but I didn't want to come up to you. I'm Mike Sheridan. And I freaked out. It was the first time I had ever met someone that I
You sound just like him.
about.
You do a bunch of impressions.
I do. That's really, it was funny, when I first started, I was known as Rhode Island's top impressionist. I was probably the only impressionist, but I was Rhode Island's top impressionist. And then the late 90s, early 2000s, there was like a backlash where if you were a prop comic or an impressionist, or if you weren't just a cerebral comic, you were looked down upon. I think there was backlash against Carrot Top and some of the. Listen, I look at it this way. My job is to get up and make people laugh. However I do it, I'll do pratfalls and spit takes. If it gets people to laugh, it doesn't matter. So I kind of shied away from the impressions, but then I started doing impressions of some characters that would get younger crowds. 'Cause I'm gonna be 48 a month,
like?
And I do Family Guy. I can't repeat the actual joke because this is PG, but.
Well, I do Peter Griffin, from Family Guy, and his son, Stewie.
Oh, hey there, Lois. How's it going? What's going on, huh? How's that book deal coming, huh? Yeah.
So that kind of got me in with younger crowds.
Right.
Was getting those impressions down. So I added more impressions in.
Doing impressions is high-risk comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, because you can look hacky if you just do the old way of impressions was, oh my God, I was in an elevator the other day and you'll never guess who was there, Ray Romano. Oh, Jesus, can you press number 4? Oh,
Right.
So
that's pretty good.
The premise needs to be something a little bit stronger than I was, on the train and guess who was on the train with me, and then you bring in the characters. It has to be a little different.
People are, I'm guessing, though, really critical of impression work. So when you take the risk to try to match somebody's persona, you better hit it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's probably worse than a joke that doesn't make it very well.
Yeah, and you can't do, and the problem is I never
Am I right
once,
about that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I never once ask the audience, and I see people who really don't do impressions, or they have one, they go, you guys like impressions? I never ask. Because if you don't like impressions, half my act is shot. You
never ask a question that you want to know answer to anyway.
No. Just do it. Just do the impression. And if people like it, they respond to it. And that's the way I treat it.
When we come back, we'll talk about the people who go to comedy shows and whether there's a trend, what the theory is. Stay with us. So Richard is being inducted into the Comedy Hall of Fame next Friday night, April 8th. So a week from tonight, he will be on the stage being roasted, which is probably antithetical for any comedian who usually dishes it out. Now he's going to have to take it, and I'm guessing his fellow comedians will have a ball with that. So make sure if you've got the availability that you hook in with the Pub on the Park on Park Avenue in Cranston for that evening. And of course, to remind you that the event is tomorrow night. The
Newport Grand, the Royal Flush, yes.
So 2 chances to see Richard do his comedy. Talk to me about audiences. Obviously, a vibe at a room is wholly dependent on the audience.
Yeah.
They're not the same every night.
No, and they're not the same.
Is this a hard conversation?
Yeah, well, it's just so funny because it brings back, I tell new comics all the time too. I remember I got booked to do 2 bachelor parties in one night. This is the days where bachelor parties, it was, they would have a comic and then they would have a stripper come in after,
Right. And by the way, they were there for the stripper, not for you.
Oh, please. The stripper walks in a half hour early. I might as well spit nickels and, out of my mouth and stand on my head. They're not looking at me anymore.
Right.
But I did 2 bachelor parties, and it was myself and a friend of mine, this guy Greg Wright, no longer does comedy, but we did the first show, and the guys are like, oh my God, you guys were great. This is so much fun. You should come out with us. And we're like, oh no, we can't. We have to do another show. We go to the second show. We're doing the same material we did an hour before. And the guy is literally giving us our money going, here, you guys better go out the back exit. They want to kill you.
Yeah, what up with that?
You don't know. You never know what you're walking into.
Do people follow you? I'm guessing
yeah, there's
they
some
do.
people that follow you. And you're always now with social media, at the end of a show, you're saying, hey, if you liked me, please look me up on Facebook, Aceto, aceto.com. You're always trying to build a following.
Audiences come with an expectation to laugh. That's a very strange dynamic.
But you know what's interesting? Audiences in clubs come to laugh like that. And sometimes because they've seen a national act, if you're a local guy, it's,
Prove it.
make me laugh. I just saw, so-and-so last week.
Right.
And I'm not saying every audience is like that in a comedy club. Where I find the audiences that are different is comics, a lot of steady work now in comedy fundraising. You're looking to do a fundraising thing. Instead of selling candy bars or something, you want to give people something and ask them for more money. And, besides the raffles that you're doing, give them a professional comedy show. So I do a lot of those. They're some of the best audiences because they're not typical audiences. They don't go out. They're middle-aged people they've got kids like me and don't go out anymore. So they're just happy to be out of the house.
Right.
No matter what you say, they're going to laugh.
That's fun stuff. You enjoy the work.
I do. I love it.
You're going to keep going?
God willing, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I love
Part-time
doing
or
it.
Full-time?
Doesn't
You ever
matter.
going to make the leap, or you're comfortable where you are?
I'm comfortable. Now I got 3 kids. I have, a great family.
So in real life, you're a bore?
Yeah.
Like all
my
of us.
my kids tell their friends that their dad is famous. I go, I'm not famous. I'm Rhode Island famous. So now they switched it to Rhode Island
Congratulations on your induction.
Thank you.
Good to see
I
you, man.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Final word when we come back. Tomorrow night and next Friday, go see him. Coming up on the Monday program, Bernie Sanders, you may have heard of him, just keeps plugging away at Hillary Clinton. They think they can pull this thing off. The state representative for the Bernie Sanders campaign will join us on the Monday broadcast, so we'll look forward to that. Have a great weekend. Go see Ace. Go see Richard. And I'll see you on the radio Monday, too, at noon on WPRL. Thanks for watching. Bye.